stones weighing as much as several elephants, moved for miles, lifted into place with breathtaking precision. And it was all done by people with no engines, no cranes, and no metal machines. So how did ancient humans move giant stones that we would struggle to budge even today? The answer is one of the greatest puzzles in history, and the solution is pure genius. All around the world, ancient people raised enormous stone monuments. Some single stones weigh many tons, far too heavy for any group to simply pick up and carry. For a long time, these monuments seemed almost impossible, leading some to imagine wild explanations. But careful study and real-world experiments have shown something remarkable. You do not need advanced technology to move giant stones. You need simple physics, clever methods, and a lot of organized human effort. Researchers have actually recreated these techniques and moved massive stones themselves, proving the ancient methods truly work. One of the simplest tricks was to stop dragging stones and start rolling them. Ancient humans placed heavy stones onto wooden sledges, then laid down logs as rollers underneath. As the sledge moved forward, workers grabbed the logs left behind and moved them to the front, creating a continuous rolling path. This dramatically reduced the effort needed, letting a team move weights that would be impossible to drag across bare ground. They also discovered that the right surface made a huge difference. Here is a brilliant example from ancient Egypt. A wall painting shows a giant statue being dragged on a sledge, while a man pours water onto the sand in front of it. For years, this puzzled people, but modern experiments proved its genius. Wet sand is far firmer and less sticky than dry sand, cutting the friction roughly in half. By simply wetting the ground ahead of a sledge, the Egyptians could move colossal loads with far fewer workers. We even have an ancient eyewitness account. Archaeologists discovered the diary of an Egyptian official named Merer, written on papyrus around 4,500 years ago. It is the oldest such papyrus ever found, and it records his team transporting huge limestone blocks by boat along the Nile in special canals to help build the Great Pyramid. This is direct written evidence of how the Egyptians moved their stones. They floated the heaviest ones on water, the easiest way of all to move a massive weight. To lift and tip enormous stones, ancient humans used one of the most powerful simple machines ever discovered, the lever. By wedging a strong pole under a heavy stone and pushing down on the other end, a few people could lift a weight none of them could budge by hand. Levers multiply human strength enormously. Using them, ancient builders could raise the edge of a giant stone, slide supports underneath, and slowly walk it upward bit by bit. Getting a stone up high meant building ramps. Ancient builders constructed great ramps of earth, rubble, and wood. By dragging stones up a gentle slope, they could raise enormous weights to great heights without lifting them straight up. To stand a tall stone upright, they might drag it to the edge of a prepared pit, then tip it down into the hole so it stood on end, before packing the base solid. These methods required careful planning and enormous effort, but they worked. Take Stonehenge in England. Its giant stones were shaped and raised around 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. Most amazing of all, some of the stones, the blue stones, came from quarries in Wales, around 200 kilometers away. Moving multi-ton stones that distance, with only sledges, ropes, rollers, and muscle, was a staggering achievement. Teams today have recreated the methods and shown that with enough people pulling together, it really can be done. The giant statues of Easter Island, the Moai, hide another clever secret. People long wondered how Islanders moved these massive figures without machines or even many large trees. Researchers showed that by tying ropes to a standing statue and rocking it from side to side, a small team could actually walk it forward step by step. Local legend had always said the statues walked to their places, and it turned out to be surprisingly close to the truth. The most astonishing fact of all is the age of some of these feats. At Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, hunter-gatherers raised carved stone pillars weighing many tons around 11,000 years ago, before farming or metal even existed. People with the simplest possible toolkit could still quarry, move, and raise enormous stones. It proves that the secret was never advanced technology. It was knowledge and cooperation. And cooperation is the true engine behind all of it. Moving a colossal stone took dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of people pulling ropes, working levers, and shifting rollers together, all in rhythm. This required incredible organization. Someone to plan the route, direct the workers, and keep everyone pulling at the same moment. Feeding and housing all those workers was a huge undertaking in itself. The monuments are not just feats of engineering. They are proof of the staggering social power of united human beings. This overturns an old myth. Many people imagine the pyramids were built by miserable slaves driven by whips, but the evidence tells a different story. Archaeologists discovered the workers' village near the Great Pyramids, complete with bakeries, breweries, and the remains of large amounts of bread, beer, and meat. The skeletons of workers show they received medical care for injuries. These were organized, fed, and cared for laborers, many of them skilled, not a mass of slaves. Building a monument was a huge national project, not just brute force. The strength to pull those stones came from another humble technology: rope. Ancient humans made strong ropes by twisting together plant fibers, reeds, or strips of hide. Thick, strong rope was absolutely essential for hauling massive weights, and making enough of it was a major task in itself. Without good rope, none of these monuments could have been built. It is one of those simple, overlooked inventions that quietly made the impossible possible. It is also worth asking how they cut and shaped these stones in the first place. Ancient builders used harder stones to pound and grind softer ones, copper tools to saw and drill, and a clever trick for splitting rock. They would cut slots, hammer in wooden wedges, then soak them with water so thus swelling wood cracked the stone along a clean line. With patience and these simple methods, they could quarry and shape blocks weighing many tons. To grasp just how far this skill could go, consider Baalbek in modern Lebanon. There lie some of the largest cut stones humans have ever moved, single blocks weighing many hundreds of tons, far heavier than anything we would attempt to move by hand today. Standing before them, it is almost impossible to believe they were shaped and shifted by ancient hands. Yet they were, through the same timeless combination of clever physics, skill, and massive organized teamwork. We should also marvel at the precision. At sites like the Great Pyramid, the huge blocks were fitted together with astonishing accuracy, and the whole structure was lined up almost perfectly with the points of the compass. Achieving that without modern instruments required careful measurement, the use of the sun and stars for alignment, and skilled, experienced builders. Moving the stones was only half the challenge. Placing them with such exactness was a triumph of ancient knowledge. There was also smart planning in the details. Ancient builders often quarried stone as close to the building site as possible to reduce the distance they had to move it. They chose routes that were flat, downhill, or near water, where heavy loads could be floated on rafts and barges. As the Mera Papyrus shows, moving a giant stone by water is far easier than dragging it overland. Choosing the right stone, the right path, and the right method was just as important as the muscle that did the hauling. So why would ancient humans pour such staggering effort into moving giant stones? The reasons reveal what mattered most to them. These monuments were almost never just practical. They were sacred places, temples, tombs, and gathering points. They honored gods, marked the heavens, remembered the dead, and united communities. The sheer effort was part of the point. Building something so massive and permanent was a powerful statement of devotion, identity, and meaning. A giant stone monument said something no words could, that a people believed in something greater than themselves, and were willing to move mountains to express it. The effort itself was an act of faith and unity, often spanning generations. People worked on monuments they would never see finished, trusting their descendants to carry on. Ancient humans moved stones that seem impossible to us, not with magic or lost technology, but with simple physics, brilliant techniques, and the overwhelming power of people working as one. Levers, rollers, ramps, ropes, wet sand, boats, and thousands of hands pulling together, that was the real secret. Their monuments still stand today, silent giants reminding us of what humans can achieve when knowledge and cooperation combine. They did not need machines to move the world. They had something just as powerful. Each other, scuba for more, and share your thoughts in the comments.